How does an army of 20,000 vanish in the mud? '15th century Europe. Kingdoms were competing for power, and thrones were secured with blood. The 100 Years' War between England and France had become almost a tradition. King Henry V of England was young, ambitious, and determined. He claimed a right to the French throne. The French, however, did not take Henry seriously. Henry sent an offer to France: land, money, and political recognition. France dismissed the proposal with contempt. As a result, in 1415, Henry led his army into France. His ambition was great, but his army was exhausted, sick, and vastly outnumbered. As the English army attempted to retreat, the French cornered them near the village of Agincourt. On paper, the outcome was obvious. France would win. But history is not written on paper. Impossible odds. Two armies face each other. The morning of Agincourt, the ground was soaked in mud. Heavy rain the night before it turned the field into a swamp. The English army, approximately 6,000 soldiers, 5,000 of them were longbowmen, hungry, exhausted, and sick. The French army, 20,000 to 30,000 soldiers, heavily armored knights, outnumbered the English 4 to 5 times. The French were extremely confident. For them, the battle felt like a mere training exercise. The English knew one thing: if this battle was lost, no one would survive. Henry positioned his army in a narrow field, surrounded by forests on both sides. It was a deliberate choice, one that would render the French numerical superiority useless. And Henry delivered this message to his men: today, England's fate will be written here. Rain, mud, and a storm of arrows. As the battle began, the French advanced slowly. Their armor shone brightly, but its weight would prove disastrous. The English longbowmen went into action. The English longbow was one of the deadliest weapons of its Tamiya skilled archer, could fire 10 to 12 arrows per minute. The arrows pierced armor or knocked soldiers to the ground. The French knights began to charge, but the mud slowed them down. They fell. They couldn't get back up. Their own men piled on top of them. English arrows darkened the sky. The armored knights ran out of breath, could barely move, fell into panic. The English did not rely on arrows alone. In close combat, they used axes, knives, warhammers. The French army became trapped. Their numerical advantage turned into a curse. The longbow revolution, how a weapon changed history. Everyone at Agincourt carried a sword, but swords did not win this battle. The true star of Agincourt was the English longbow. This was no ordinary weapon. An English archer trained with it from childhood. Their shoulders became deformed, their fingers thickened. It was not a profession. It was a way of life. The longbow had a range of nearly 180 meters. Armor-piercing arrows were used. Mass volleys created a deadly wall of death. The French knights were completely unprepared. Their understanding of warfare was simple. Nobles advance first. Swords clash. Honor is earned. But at Agincourt, there was no honor, only survival. When the arrows began to fall, horses, panicked knights were thrown to the ground. Formations collapsed entirely before even reaching the enemy lines. The French army broke down both physically and psychologically. This is why Agincourt is often called the end of the Middle Ages, because in this battle, noble birth was no longer enough. Courage alone was useless. Technology and discipline prevailed. And from that moment on, warfare in Europe would never be the same. The breaking point, the collapse of France. As the battle continued, the French command structure collapsed. Nobles were killed. Dukes were taken prisoner. King Henry feared that the captives might rearm themselves. He made one of the most controversial decisions in military history, the execution of prisoners. It was a brutal decision, but it completely shifted the battle in England's favor. The French army panicked. They attempted to retreat, but it was already too late. After hours of fighting, France, 6,000 to 10,000 dead, the noble class was nearly wiped out. England, approximately 400 dead. It was one of the greatest military shocks of the Middle Ages. The legacy of Agincourt. Agincourt was not just a battle. It marked the beginning of the end of the age as chivalry proved that firepower and tactics were superior to noble birth, elevated England into a major European power. King Henry V became a legend in England. William Shakespeare immortalized him. And Agincourt taught us one timeless lesson. Numbers do not always win. Intelligence, preparation, and the right moment change history.